Let me share my slide. Just covering office hours. These are the rules of engagement. So you are welcome here as long as you can commit to following rules. Be respectful, be brave, be curious and compassionate. Use I statements. Make sure you protect yourself and protect the other person. And I'm recording as a podcast, and I am highlighting my face, which is now done. And so it'll be, for here, it's actually all breaking free groups, present and past members. And we can talk about anything from like the course, if you're in it right now, or like any other boundary related questions. I added this particular one timing wise right now because of the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, in case anyone needed some coaching around how to have some boundaries around the holidays. And yeah, so that's it. I'm just going to stop sharing, and then I will take questions. You can ask them out loud or put them in the chat. I'm gonna share a story while people get warmed up. So this particular holiday season, I am noticing I'm having lots of mixed feelings, right? So it's like, this holiday was built on a lie around, a shared meal with Indigenous people. And we're seeing the same thing that's happening across the world and all this other stuff. And there's complicated relationships in all families. And so sometimes the question for me is, what if I just don't show up in my authenticity and just to stay in connection, right? I just won't show up myself, and then I can just stay in connection with my family. So for those who don't know, I do not have a connection with my family currently, for lots of different reasons. One of them is I'm okay with it, because in showing up in my full authenticity, it was not fully received, right? And so all of the threats of being kicked out of the home or disowned or a disgrace, all of those things happened without saying it. So boundaries are interesting because it's a little bit of a clusterfuck growing up in a society that teaches like unhealthy boundaries are actually the way to go. Like, you need to have a lot of wealth or have holidays that look like this or X, Y, and Z, no matter what you have to do to get all that money, right? And then you'll be good and perfect and part of this tier of success or whatever. And so if that's the model we were taught about performance or achievement or some kind of shiny medal at some point, that's what we think we're supposed to do. And so in my boundary healing work, I have learned pretty regularly that it sucks to be fake and pleasing and just to make everything okay, right? Like, oh, I'm going to tolerate someone talking about my body because this is just the way the uncle person is. And, mom told me to be nice and not say anything. So it's, how do we have boundaries, right? So remember, the boundaries that we're trying to learn is healthy boundaries. Everyone is as important as us, even the creepy uncle. Okay. And that means I don't have to be like, yeah, sitting and tolerating these comments around my body, right? Instead, I can be like, okay, I know this about the uncle. I'm going to hold him in precious light way across the room. And it'll be like the magnets that like never are they able to connect, right? That is okay. So it's like you can show up in your authenticity in this space and then use the understanding, use the data that you have around these people who you just so happen to be related to by blood, and learn to maneuver to protect yourself while you're in the space, right? And so for me, my family of origin, anytime you have a question, please just start typing it in. This is not like it was not intended as a monologue. So for me and my family, which is very, very small because we're an immigrant family and not connected to anybody, I couldn't do that because everything was under scrutiny around what I did, particularly once I had children, because then they became the extension of my worth, literally. Like, oh, you're letting your kid do that? Right? Benign comment, totally judgmental, right? And so for me, knowing I would always get so activated and reactive, like my wounded parts would get activated, I could not stay regulated to actually care for my children, who are my priority, my responsibility. My mom is a grown-up. I'm not responsible for managing her feelings of success around the outcome of my life, right? I know that in some part of my mom, the healed part, the functional adult part, that she has absolutely every right to access at any point that she wants me to live a life that I love. I know this. And I know this to be true for everybody. And it's about understanding what I have control over is keeping myself in this regulated state where I don't oppress another person, right? Bulldoze over another person or shrink myself, right? That's not good for me. And it's not good for society because we're seeing what's happening as we allow oppression or like shrinking down and hiding to continue to happen. Okay. So yeah, so I made hard choices around, I had to limit time I spent with my family so I could actually parent my children. Okay, so there's a question in the chat. Could you talk a little bit about how to assess whether a boundary you've drawn is overly rigid or not rigid enough in a given situation? Yes. So boundaries is a catchphrase. And I thought I understood boundaries until I realized I had no idea what boundaries were. Boundaries like require in some with the other person, okay? Their response to your boundary informs if you're going to be more rigid or less rigid in a given situation, okay? So if you have a case scenario, that would be really helpful. Otherwise, I'll try to think of one. I woke up, my brain's not as active as I would like today. So for instance, okay, I go out with the friends and they know that I'm just making this up. They know that I'm on a budget or whatever. And, you know, I was like, yeah, can we make sure we like just go Dutch and I'll just order blah, 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 right? Oh yeah, that's fine. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I mean, it's basically the same. Let's just share it, right? And it's like not a lot of money, right? But it's enough to be like, you didn't hear me when I set that first boundary of like, I wanted to split this just based on what I ordered because I'm stressed about money. That's going to inform me next time I go out with this particular friend or friends. I'm going to have a rigid boundary and I'm going to go, hey, wait staff, can we have separate checks, please? And then just keep going. Okay. If someone shames you around your boundary, that is a flag that I would consider like yellowish, reddish flag, right? And I'm going to admit, I have done that to a friend who was trying to set boundaries with me, but I didn't understand because she wasn't as direct as I needed her to be around something. And so, yes, you can absolutely, Shelley. Let me just finish this one. And so though, if a person, right, if I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this conversation, can we change the topic? And the other person's like, you're too sensitive. Any statement that's like you and it's assessing you as a person, you just got to put up a wall like that you have to put up an immediate emotional and psychological boundary up, because no one has a right to tell you about you. They can tell you, when you say I can't say those things, that makes me really mad, because I feel like I'm trying to give you some honest feedback here. That is absolutely okay, right? Because what they're doing is they're sharing themselves with you. They may not tell you who you are, okay? So the assessment comes from after you set the boundary. The response of the other person informs you based on how your body feels. I can open up a little bit more because I've built some trust because they've heard me and they've honored it. Or I'm going to close up and be more rigid because they're not hearing me. Yes, go ahead, Shelley.
So for our Thanksgiving, we're going to my in-laws' house, so Alan's parents, and it's a sticky situation in that his brother and his brother's wife and daughter are coming from New York, and we have a very difficult relation. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I'm gonna pause because I want to just remind you, because you came. I have this recorded.
Oh, okay.
So I want you to generalize, like there is
generalize.
there might be a sister-in-law that's coming.
Yeah. Okay. So we because we haven't talked, our last interaction was we haven't talked in a few years. So now, and nothing was resolved or processed.
Was there conflict?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was conflict. There was fight.
Okay.
Argument, verbal argument.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents, it's a sibling rivalry situation with emotionally immature parents who are just feeding the rivalry.
Okay. So just pause. I want you to feel into your body. Notice what sensations are happening in your body as you're just sharing this information around the upcoming gathering. What's happening in your body?
Shortness of breath, nervousness, or like.
Where do you feel it in your body?
In my belly, and then in my chest.
Okay, so I want you to put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And I want you to try to deepen your breath down to your belly. Shallow breathing means you're in a fight or flight state. Okay, and then when we don't have enough oxygen, then we get even more stressed out and our viewpoint narrows. So just breathe into your belly. And I invite everyone who's here to like just do this too. This is a good practice. I want you to feel into your belly and your chest and see what emotions are there.
The emotions are related to feeling rejected, not feeling accepted and belonging. And
so fear of abandonment or rejection. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is that, in your belly or your chest?
My belly.
Okay. And then what's the emotion in your chest?
I think it's related to protection or tightening or creating like a wall. So survival. Maybe.
Do you have something to twist? Like a towel or a pillow?
Yeah, I can use my sweatshirt.
Perfect. Do that. And I'm going to, this is a tool that I'm going to ask people to do. This, if you're frozen or like really stressed out, you want to twist a towel or a pillow and you bare your teeth, because we're animals, And then you're going to push that energy out of your body into the thing that you're twisting. And then you're going to let it go very slowly. And then you're going to pause and notice any changes. So usually when I do this, my vision widens a little bit. The reason why I'm doing this with you is I think there's anger, but it's too scary. Is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Yeah, I definitely
Okay.
think there's repressed anger.
So did anything change for you when we twisted the towel?
Well, in my body, there's definitely like my shoulders and everything feels like it's relaxed a little
Okay.
bit more than
So
before.
we're gonna do it 2 more times, because usually
Okay.
for folks who like to repress their anger, there's a lot in there. Oh, sometimes I like the curve, and then I let it go. Anything shift?
That tightness that's in my belly, it just moved down. So instead of the upper belly, it's like kind of moving to the lower belly.
Is it the same feeling of fear of abandonment?
Um, no, it just feels like it's kind of moving down.
What's in your
And I can
chest now?
the chest is more open.
What's the emotion in your chest now?
It's I think it's just more about making space and be more open
To what?
to myself, to my not staying, but like trusting myself and not being distracted by others.
Okay, so these are behaviors. What's the emotion?
Mm,
Is this, first of all, is this okay what I'm doing in this
yes,
call?
yes, it is. The emotion in my chest, well, calmness.
I'm going to guess something.
Yeah.
Grief.
Mm,
Loneliness. I don't know. I'm asking you to
yeah.
run it
No,
through and see if it
I'm,
lands.
I know I'm running it through. Yeah. Yeah. I can see the grief. I can see the grief of past treatment or past relationship and just where we're at now. The grief. Yeah.
So I'm just going to
Absolutely.
summarize and generalize this because we want to make this like people can understand, like,
Yeah.
knives too. It sounds like there's like old history here, unsolved conflict, and now all of a sudden everyone's coming together for the holidays. And there's a history of competition between the siblings. So it's your husband and his sibling.
Yes.
And so the story I'm going to make up is Thanksgiving, like any other holiday that is like on Hallmark cards or in movies or any kind of media consumption, has so much pressure around it on how it's supposed to look. And if it's not like that, then you failed. Does that resonate? Like, do you
Well,
feel like there's kind of some kind of expectation of how it's supposed to go?
it's just because of our situation. For me, it's that, yes, I'm feeling that pressure that's what the parent in-laws want. And I have to play my role to uphold that. Yet
Why?
we feel
Why do you have to uphold that role?
so that they are happy.
And if they're not happy, then what?
It's not a pleasant experience for everybody.
Do they say things directly, or is it passive aggressive?
Passive aggressive.
In the moment or later?
Both.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna just, what I'm gonna do is just break down the boundaries here, right? Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Story makeup, Southeast Asian. So there's a cultural expectation to honor elders,
Mm-hmm.
which the context colonial wise was just a way of controlling our children.
Okay.
Okay. So just know that. So I'm not saying to like defy, but just to understand in your body,
Mm-hmm.
that was what you were taught, but that's not the healthy boundary because you are as important as your elders, including your elders-in-law. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal is always to get to the right size in all relationships. So if it's you, your in-law, you, your husband, you, your sister-in-law, everyone's the same size.
Mm-hmm.
What I hear is that there is an expectation, consciously or unconsciously, that you do this. Make space for everyone to get along, make sure that you don't say the thing because it will make people uncomfortable and you have to play the role.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate?
Yes.
Okay. So the expectation, I think this will resonate for other people on the call too, is to like shrink down and play the role. Okay. And just let it happen. And then there might be in you like, well, that's not right. Right. And like, I don't want to be censored and blah, 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 blah. And so there might be this like, I need an apology for this to happen and blah, 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 blah. Right. Does that make sense? So a
Yes.
teenager rightfully angry is like, why the F am I going to invite these people into my home if they've treated me this way? Right.
Yes.
And so this is looking down on the other people as not as authentic or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to right size this is to make sure you go into your fullness, right? Your right size.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be tricky, this part.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband, because of the patriarchy and how he was raised, is likely going to be used to doing this. Centering his needs does that make sense? What he wants in this
Yeah.
particular way? Okay.
Yep.
And so what I want to just bring up in this scenario is a little bit of understanding that because he has really critical parents, he likely grew up feeling like he was like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we don't feel good enough, one of the ways that we can adapt when we have more power is we pretend like we are fantastic and the best at everything. And I'm going to push everyone to do their best because it's going to make me feel good and it's going to make my parents love me more. But underneath it all is this little wounded child. And anytime there might be a misstep or, you know, a parent expresses displeasure, that's so scary, especially in many, many men who didn't have this emotional coaching that they really need, because we all need it. They immediately go into their anger and rage and try to control because that's their adaptation.
Okay.
Because the fear of his abandonment is so intense that he reacts in anger.
Mm.
Does that resonate?
Yeah, it does.
Just in case you were thinking, oh, okay, so I should make more space for him. That's your adaptation.
Okay.
You have to remind yourself that your husband has access to his functional adult. Okay. And so the question really is, what do I need for me? Because if this is happening, right, and the elders are saying it's happening, I really don't have power over it because it'll cause more issue if you stand up for yourself. You have to figure out, what do I need to get through this intact?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I have to,
Okay.
that's a question I need to ask. Yes.
Yes. And so one of the things is you have to have a very, very, very rigid wall.
Okay.
And like the lipstick smile and like, okay. And so knowing it's going to take so much emotional effort to pretend for however much long, you're going to reduce the stress on other things so that you have a resource. You're going to like order it so you don't have to cook. You're going to delegate X, Y, and Z. You're going to control the schedule so you know what to expect. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's how you're going to figure out your resource growth. Okay. The other thing is you want to remind your partner, hopefully access his prefrontal cortex. Okay. In a partnership. Hey, I know how sometimes your parents can make you feel. The story I make up is that you might feel a little stressed about this. Is that accurate? No, I'm not stressed. Okay. Because you got to be like, if he's not willing to go to the vulnerability, you don't want to go digging because that's a sore spot. Okay. Okay. I'm glad you're not stressed. So something that I'm going to need to make sure that we do this in a way that feels good to you is I'm going to need a schedule or things that, and I'm going to need this from you. Is that something that you can do? Okay. If he's like, why do you have to do this? Then you cannot count on this person to give you support.
Okay.
So you're vetting for awareness and safety and how much he can come online. Does that make sense? If he can come online and yet like, I know, I don't really want to see my sister and blah, 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 blah. Be like, okay, let's make some strategy plans, right? We're going to run defense here. This is what I'll do. I'll go talk to this person, or what if we invite this other person and they can run interference between the two of you? How's that? Right?
Yeah.
If you talk in strategy, he might be able to get online.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is you have to just suck it up. This is what's going to happen. I got to go. And I got kids to protect. And I got me to protect. And I'm not going to protect my husband's wounded children because that's not mine. He's got to do that. Right? Because sometimes our partners want us to regulate them. Or I've learned to regulate my partner, right? So that I can feel safe.
Yeah.
That is a wrong direction. Okay. And so if he starts to get agitated, I see you're really upset. I'm going to go grab a drink for you or a snack. Right. The other things that go offline usually when we're really stressed is we stop eating and we stop drinking water. You have to make sure you're eating because your body is running so much through it all the time that it's needing resource. Food, nutritious food, sleep. You got to make sure you get enough sleep. Water. Okay. Makeup, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go for a walk and get the thing, Okay. Take time out of the space because especially if you're really porous, you're going to absorb a lot of the stress. Because the story I make up is not only is your husband worried, his sibling is too.
Yeah.
The best alliance is the siblings are together. Because so here's the other analysis. It's a little, if the grown-ups who are in charge are not regulated and unsafe, no one is safe.
Yeah.
Okay. But to remind you and everyone else who are the adults, you cannot be abandoned. You're grown-ups and you're in charge of your narrative now. Okay. You're not going to have that conversation with people who don't understand boundaries, but you're going to like say it in a way of like, it's okay. You are a wonderful human being. Right? I know how hard you work. You don't have to prove it to me.
Yeah.
Right? Those kinds of things will help. Right? But for the siblings to get together, we'll be able to stop the parents from criticizing.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like authority figure, divide and conquer.
Yes. Yeah.
We all learned from how we were traumatized.
Mhm.
You know, it's really sad, right? And that's the other thing, understanding that if someone's hurtful, it's coming from a hurt place, which does not mean you shrink down and just take it, as many brown and Asian and Black women have learned to do over millennia, right? To just go, oh, that's their hurt. I'm not going to allow it to do that to me, but I can see them in their humanity, and I'm going to just move away, or I'm going to make sure the kids are out of the way, right? So
Yeah.
the other thing is, if this is stressful, I would prep the kids.
Mhm.
This is what's happening, because they get more stressed when they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
tell them the context of what their body's picking up, you're not crazy. This is what's happening, and these are the tools that I think would be helpful. You're going to go play soccer with X, Y, and Z outside. Or if this, I'm going to say the word banana pancakes, and then you're going to go and like go play video games or something, right?
Mhm.
Because as a parent, if you have to regulate you and then also be mindful about what the kids are taking in, and then the other person, it's too much. So you want to like take out like who you have to be responsible for so that you can stay regulated in you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
Yeah, I have some work to do. Thank you.
You're
Those are so
welcome.
helpful. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? I'll talk this all day. And what's interesting is the framework works for any scenario, but every scenario is different, right? Erica, do you have something?
I guess I've been trying to figure out how to phrase it, but
Mhm.
to expand a little on the previous question about assessing the rigidity of a boundary, I think something that I run into a lot is that I draw a boundary and maintaining it is difficult. And also, I guess, yeah, it like kind of depends on the situation of like, should you like, you kind of want to assess like, oh, like, is this overly rigid? Is there some way that we can be like more in connection without making yourself like unsafe? And I think assessing where exactly that is something that I struggle with.
So just notice what's happening in your body right now. Any sensations?
Yeah, I think it's like tightness in the chest.
Okay, so just put your hand there.
Okay.
And just notice if there's an emotion.
Anxiety, yeah.
So just notice like I'm feeling a little anxious, and that's okay, right? Now I want you to go, who's driving the bus?
I think it's my team.
Why do you think it's your team?
I mean, well, I guess there's some of my tween who just like wants to be accepted, and then some of my teen that wants to feel seen, I guess, and is like angry about it.
So I'm gonna discern something, okay?
Okay.
I think the one that wants to be seen might be your little one.
Okay.
Does that resonate at all?
The child.
Yeah, the wounded child. Okay. Because for a teenager to want to be seen, that means the root is they were never seen. Okay. So it's understanding your little one feels invisible or something unknown, right? And then the tween wants to be accepted and sense of belonging, and your teenager's angry. Okay. Your teenager's also the one who's going to go, is this too rigid? Is this not rigid enough? What's the right answer? How am I going to control the situation so the outcome is what I want it to be? Okay. Because the teenager adapts by trying to get all the things in a row, right? Is that resonate? I'm making up stories, so you have to tell me if it lands.
No, I think that's it. Yeah, for sure. Teenager definitely trying to figure out what do I do to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many teenagers are like, what's the formula? Tell me and I'll just do it. And it's not that simple. what you need to do first is, okay, and everyone can do this, is like you just imagine your little one crawling into your lap and just, you want to, so what I'm doing is you can't do any, I mean, you can. It's a lot easier and less stress on the body if you regulate your little one first, okay, rather than think it through. Because it's really, raising our functional adults is we're reconnecting our brain with our body and reconnecting, reattaching ourselves to who we are versus the attachment figure that rejected us for whatever reason, okay? And so I want you to imagine, right? So it's like, always it's how do you get access to your functional adult? Root your feet into the earth, right? Roots grow from the soles of your feet down into the earth. So it's like deep and wide, right? So you are like, I am here in this space. I belong here. I'm claiming my land, okay? And then you're watching any of the intensity, just like, because it's lots of memories that's like factoring into the decision making. Okay, you're just gonna pull it out of your body into the earth so it can just kind of metabolize it. And then as you bring your awareness up through your body, and you're doing that so you can connect to your body instead of dissociate, which most of us have learned to do very well. See the sun above you and just fill your body with light and warmth. Okay. The light represents also love, protection, clearing, right? And then as the light comes from filling up your body, the light comes from your heart and then just surrounds you in a bubble. And in that bubble are your little ones. And in that bubble, everyone is safe. No one can come in because you are in control of that. So if you're looking for something to control, this is the go-to meditation for you, okay? Now imagine your little one crawling into your lap, or you gently pull them onto your lap and just say, only look to me, I see you. You are safe. I will not let anything happen to you. It's okay to make mistakes. You are perfect as you are. It will not impact how much I love you. Nothing you can do or say will change that. And it's okay to want to like do different things, right? It's okay to be spontaneous and open as long as it doesn't impact the other person negatively, which does not mean you cannot be who you are, because you are as important as everyone else. And I need you to only look to me for your love and affirmation. No one else to see you. I'm the one you've been waiting for. Okay? Like regulate that little one. With your tween, I always imagine sitting across from you and it's like, oh my gosh, you are amazing. You're so cool. Like all the ways I see you and you belong to me. Right? I am that tribe you're looking for. I am that herd. I am that acceptance that you're looking for. Everything about you is perfect. Don't change anything. You just be you. And I'm going to protect you. And then make sure you get your needs and your wants. Okay? And I'm going to make sure that we do it without like pretending or overpowering anybody. And then for your teen, I always imagine they're sitting next to us because they think they're the grown-up. And you just, bump shoulders like, I'm so proud of you. Look at how far we've come. We live in this great space. We have this job. We have this friends or whatever you fill it in, right? I'm so proud of all the ways that you figured out how to just do the exact thing. And then we get this outcome. I totally understand why you would be anxious. And like, if you're doing it right, or what happens if, who's going to be mad? And then what are you going to do if that happens? And it totally makes sense how you're feeling. Because of all the history, you're not crazy, right? And I need you to stop driving the bus so that we can actually live instead of just control the situation all the time, because it's not as fun, right? And we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? And the other person's reaction is just data for me, right? Because my job is to protect you all, right? So what you're doing is you're differentiating your little ones, you're shrinking them down, right? So that you have access to your full prefrontal cortex. And then from there, what is the boundary? That's what you do. And then if it's like, I really do need this space, but they're gonna be upset. That's my little one. Don't worry. It's okay for them to be upset. They're grown-ups. They have access to their tools. But we need space, and I just need some rest around this. Does that make sense? So what happens is when you discern a boundary, you're going to have reactions, and then you discern who's driving those reactions so you can regulate them. And then once you figure out the boundary, you just want to be real careful around how to say it. Does that make sense? So it's not controlling the other person or judging the other person. It's from the I. This is what I need, and I understand it's going to cause some feelings for you. And I care about you. This is what I need for right now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Checking in with different parts of yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's always the functional adult trying to drive it. Right? And so the other thing is how we determine these boundaries too is with the other person, how they respond. That's what I was trying to say. It informs if you get more rigid or more porous, right? So if they're a trustworthy or like regulated or curious or open to your experience and your needs, you can open up a little bit more and be more porous. But if they're judging or angry or victim or whatever, then that just informs you need to have more of a rigid boundary, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for folks? People can ask more than one. I have these nephews that I'm missing, not seeing this year. And in talking with like helping him understand his family, right? It's my extended family or my family of origin. It was like, I understand why they do these things. And I hope that you can see that you get to make choices. And the decision is always, do I disappoint myself or do I disappoint this other person? That's it. And then just make that decision. Do I disappoint myself in this right now and know that I'm doing it, or do I disappoint them? I admittedly always disappointed myself so that I would never disappoint someone else. And then I woke up in my late 40s hating my life. I was really good at disappointing myself. So I'm telling my nephews who are like in their mid-20s, I'm like, please practice disappointing other people now so you can learn to tolerate it and learn that you're not going to die. You're not going to die. This is a feeling and it will pass. When you were a kid and they were disappointed and they did X, Y, and Z or said X, you would die. Right? If you were kicked out of the home or whatever, you would die. That was a real threat then. It is not a real threat now. Right? So the question is always, do I disappoint myself or do I disappoint someone else? Am I going to live my life the way that I want to, or I'm going to live my life the way that other people want me to? And then you got to go, which people are you going to follow? Right? Because everyone's expectations are different.
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
I have a curiosity. I actually didn't intend to share this, but when you just said that, it made me think of something else.
I'm having a moment of like confusion because your name is different than your voice.
Oh
So
wait.
welcome. No, it's totally fine. I was like, because I was also like, I don't know who this person is. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine. It's fine.
Me, SD. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah. So I was in a car accident a month ago,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Got rear-ended. The man came out and was so kind, right? So he's like, are you okay? And something in me, maybe because he was like semi-attractive, something in me was like immediately like, oh, I can trust this person, right? And I guess I fawned, right? So I'm just kind of like,
Wait, what's the background of the person?
well, here's the thing. I didn't know at the time, but I got on the phone and called my cousin and was speaking in my native, well, Haitian Creole,
Uh-huh.
and he was Haitian.
Uh-huh.
So then it added another layer. Oh, this is my people, I can trust him. So he's immediately like, yeah, let's not do a claim because both our premiums will go up. I don't know anything about these laws and rules. I just drive my car. So I
Mhm.
said, really? And anyway, long story short, fast forward a month. A month goes out. I'm still injured.
Mm.
My car is still dented. And I have been stressing over filing a claim because some part of me felt this what
Mm.
do you call it? Allegiance to my integrity, right? Like my claimed integrity to this guy. Like I don't, trust me. The estimates that I'm giving you are correct. I'm not going to file a claim. Let's just follow through. And every single time I mentioned, but my body still hurts, he would dismiss it. Like, oh, well, I'm not, that's not for me to deal with. Or,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I'm just wondering, I've not thought about this as a boundary issue, but
It
it
is
is
totally
interesting. Who said that?
me. It's Judy. I'm getting my
Okay.
circles ready.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. But I figure that it sounds like another voice. I figured that, there's something about me. So to conclude the story, everyone, I went to the doctor finally yesterday, and the doctor's like, he does this exam and he can see that one side of my body is weaker than the other. He pulls up all these tests that I have to do. And then he's like, what's the claim number? So I'm like, I don't have one. He's like, well, you're going to do one now. And so I was forced to do it. And I feel a burden lifted, even though I woke up feeling a massive guilt about, I guess, tattling on this man.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, in hearing you speak, it's like, wait, but what about me? Like, literally, my body is affected, and this man is living his best life after he hit me. Like what?
mhm.
I'm just trying to figure out
Right. So
which
here,
person's driving the bus in this scenario.
who's driving your bus?
Well, it sounds like a teen in the sense that I want to belong, I want to be liked, I want to be, whatever. But I feel like there might be something deeper going on.
Yeah, I think also you're tween because you're like,
Okay.
this is a handsome man. And the
Well,
story I make up is he knows how handsome he is and he uses his like charisma to get stuff. Okay.
he
Where
wasn't
we
bad.
have,
I'm just saying.
yeah, anyway. The thing is like everyone learns the rules of society, okay? And so understanding too, he probably has his own complicated story. So we don't want to diminish him as like he's living his best life, like he intentionally did these things, right?
Right.
He
Right.
might just not like was really worried about his premium and then did this thing about
Absolutely.
you, okay?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
does
You
not
can.
make it okay.
Right.
What I want to do is just to make sure that we don't objectify anyone because that we're just repeating the
Thank you for
trauma,
that.
okay?
Yep.
And so I think the story I make up is your little one might be scared of getting anyone in trouble or angry.
Okay. Yeah.
So how does that look for a little one to get anyone in trouble? If a parent would be like really outsized response, I'm not saying for you to disclose anything. I'm just making up stories, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So siblings would start to protect each other or throw each other under the bus, right? to survive. And so the other thing is, I think it's a younger part because it's intense. It's about survival. It's not just like someone's going to get upset. If we're afraid of someone getting mad or disappointed at us, it's bigger because it represents our safety and security. So it's going to be the wounded child. Okay? Because that's something we carry from that belief. I can never disappoint someone or upset someone. Okay? And so the other thing is, if we look at this contextually, generationally, women are taught in our every cell never to make someone, especially a man, upset. And so the fawning of like, oh, really? You know, like, makes sense because it's it's such an unconscious thing, right? Not to say that he was scary, but any man's like disappointment or feeling like you tattled on him, and then what? There's a fear somehow, right? He's going to accuse you of being mean, or he's going to like whatever, okay? And so knowing that I'm starting to take care of the other person and their need is a boundary crossing. That's way too porous. Okay. Whatever happens to his premium, sorry, you should have paid more attention. That's, you know? And so I love the fact that the doctor was like, we're going to fill out the claim right now. Right? Because then if you have to communicate with this person, it's like, oh my gosh. And this is where I think lying is valid as a safety mechanism, right? I went in and he was like, oh, and we made the claim. If he's mad, I know, I tried not to. I'm so sorry, but I also need to get this stuff done. Right? Then you're able to maintain your sense of safety, getting what you need, and also maintaining kind of a boundary with this person, right? In case it's like, sometimes if we know people in the community or like there's some fear of shaming. So these are the things you have to consider of when you're strategizing, not to manipulate people and take advantage, right? But to protect yourself and the other person. Right. So if he was in the community and he's like, oh my gosh, and people are going to say, oh, no. I'll make sure that like, no, it was an accident. And this was the outcome. You are not bad. I'm not going to like talk about you ill behind your back. And I know like, I just need to take care of my body, and then just keep pointing back. I need to take care of my body. I cannot work. I cannot do this thing. I cannot be comfortable. And I know you would really want that. You try to speak to their functional adult and to call in their humanity. Do not accuse people of taking advantage, because that's a boundary crossing. That's your teenager assuming ill intent. Okay? You want to try to hang on to your functional adult and call to their functional adult. Does that make sense?
Adult. It does. I guess you're raising another concern that I haven't traversed that bridge yet. It just in terms of what now? Do I, now that I've crossed the line, as it were, at least, I'm still anxious about this, so I don't think I'm thinking completely with my functional adult yet. But like, do I say something to him? Do I text him and say, hey, it's not me, it was the doctor, or hey,
does he know your address?
He does know my address. He has my number. He has my email address. And this is sort of what I feel panicky about.
I see. Yeah, so I would send it as an email, so you have a thread. And so strategy wise, if you want, so it's like, hey, want to let you know, I just went to the doctor. He was really concerned about blah, 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 and thinks that, and so we did the claim. I know this was something that you didn't want to do. And when I discussed it with the doctor, it made the most sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm just giving you a heads up. Right? because I know how stressed people are about like premium, like, so you want to connect to the humanity of like, I know this is really stressful. The bottom line is he hit you.
Right. Right.
Let's not just like, let's just not dance around that.
Right. Right.
You didn't do anything. He hit
Right.
you.
Exactly.
Do
Right.
not pass up that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Take care. Yeah, so it's does that help? Does it
It
make
does.
sense how we strategize without demeaning the other person?
Yeah, I think there part of the angst that I'm coming out from is this awareness that there's this person out there that I have this sort of weird connection to that I don't trust, and it's making me scared, and I have to sort of defend myself, and it's just a lot of heaviness that I imagine, should I be more able to tap into my functional adult, I'd be able to regulate better. But it's just been in a spiked experience from the day it happened
Right.
till now, and it's just like, whoa.
Right.
Let's just keep the facts and stick to those. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's totally it. And so I want to say you're not crazy for being really nervous. Harm against women. Like, yeah. Okay. So I would start to like make sure like, oh yeah, my roommate, blah, 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 blah. He's
Right.
I would make up, like, I would talk about, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yep.
I would do that. Oh yeah, my uncle's in the, you know, police department. I don't know.
Right. Right.
It's just like you're just letting this other person know, don't fuck with me.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
This is what we have to do as women. I literally, this is my last story. I got weird vibes from my dog walker. I don't know, I just got weird vibes. And then I met a woman also in the neighborhood who is dog walker, and I was gonna go with her. I texted my dog walker, who's male, white male. I'm like, hey, just want to let you know I bumped into this mom. She's in a bind financially because of the holidays. So I'm just, in case you see Luna walking around with her, that's why I'm choosing her, because I just want to help her out for the holiday season. And I'm just letting you know because I don't want you to think that I'm cheating on you. Right? Did I have to do that? No. Is my functional adult understanding how things are in the world right now? Fuck yes. He knows where I live. He knows I'm on my own. Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
So don't, this is the thing. Functional adults didn't let all this stuff happen. Adaptive teens are like, oh, let's just assume the best. They said they wouldn't take all of the land. Let's just assume that they, fuck no. Okay? Functional adults will not be messed with. They won't demean, but they'll fight back. I think mine's a little punchy. All right. Oh, I'm just sending all of you some light and warmth for the holiday season is coming up. And tomorrow I'm doing a workshop on managing microaggressions. It's not a workshop, it's a community check-in, much like this type, but it's around that particular thing. All right. Good luck, Shelley.
Thank you, Judy. And I just want to say thank you for just like holding the space and just being here even during like our